All right, everybody, it is day 19, 11 days to go on this Talk to Camera challenge. And today I wanted to talk about bringing your audience into your story. First off, I am no expert at this. I am not someone who is, faking it until I make it. This is me learning from experts. That is one of the powers of the Zettelkasten, is that I am able to gather information from all these different sources and look at all this information, connect it with similar pieces of information, and then develop my own take on all of that stuff, right? So, no expert here. This is just me learning. Before I can bring you into my story, I need to know my story inside and out. Now, this video is not going to be about me sharing my story. This is just prep work. This is just me starting with the end in mind, having that goal, learning, and starting with the end in mind. I want to use this card, the Ikigai card, the reason for being. And I want to kind of use this Venn diagram. I want to start at the top with, what do I love? And what do I love? It has everything to do with, what is my why? And then moving on from my why, I want to say, what am I good at? Right? That's the second. Which side is that? Yeah, that's this side here. So what do I love? What am I good at? Now, what am I good at, actually? I want to talk about kind of a self-assessment, right? I brought this up in a previous video. I don't remember what day it was, but this is section 217. And this is the self-awareness, the whole section on self-awareness. This is all the questions. I got a lot of these questions from Chris Ducker's book, Rise of the Youpreneur. And but this is all questions about, what am I good at? What tasks do I find easy that others might struggle with? In which situations do I feel most confident in? Some other ones might be, when have I been in situations where my values were challenged? How did I react? There's a lot of questions in here. So this is all part of that. What am I good at? And what am I not so good at? So then with this same Venn diagram, the two pieces of this on the top and the left are more personal, right? These are things that I can affect, or these are things that are me, right? Focused. They're personally me focused. And what we love, what I love, and what I'm good at. Now, the other two is, what the world needs and what can I be paid for. Those have less to do with me personally and more to do with an employer, or, or you, my audience, or a client in business, that type of thing. So this side, top left for you is personal. Bottom right is, not, I can't affect that so much. So even though this bottom right section, what the world needs and what I can be paid for, I can only do so much in those areas. But my why, my worldview has everything to do with what I believe, that the world needs. So I hope by now you know what I think the world needs, right? And, it has everything to do with, you know, the discipleship model that I've talked about, the discerning your purpose, discovering divine connections, developing and articulating Christ-centered content, and then deepening your relationship with God and each other. So, yeah, the world, the world needs Christ-centered content created by, sanctified disciples of Christ. I envision an army, a peaceful army of servants of Christ, creating content, taking that message outside of the church buildings. Did you know that the early church, the early first century church, they didn't even have church buildings? They didn't have any of the, amazing music and, everything, the sound system, everything else that today's evangelical church has. And yet they were able to, the world that was steeped in paganism, they were able to turn that world upside down. So I'm saying part of that discovering divine connections, or maybe a better way to say it would be rediscovering divine connections, could potentially, doing that in our 21st century, our modern 21st century, the first century turned the world upside down. Can we do that today in the 21st century? And, I have found an amazing analog tool in this digital age. And, I'm talking about connections of real intelligence in the age of artificial intelligence, but I'm getting ahead of myself. This video is not about, attempting to tell that story or share that vision yet. This is me learning. This is still me learning to get better at these skills. And then, eventually I'll share that story and that vision in these videos. In order to tell that story, share that vision, I'm going to have to make a real and deep connection with you somehow. The only way I know how to do that is to like really let you know who I am, who I really am. And that's kind of scary, right? That's so much scarier than just hitting the record button on my camera. Because this is real. Like, what if I do get rejected? And then it's real. I need to decide how much I'm willing to share, and really, how authentic do I want to be? How intimate do I want to be with my audience? And how much, I guess how much am I willing to share to serve you on behalf of Christ? I guess that's what it's all going to come down to. And then, does that align with my why? Does that align with who I want to be? I've actually got a quote. This was a video I was watching of Chris Wilkes on YouTube. And he quoted, now, he said this was Gurwinder Bogle, which I don't know if that name is correct. So it's actually been attributed to this person and also Darren Brown. So I'm not sure who actually said it. But it's basically, you should just be yourself. Not because it will make you more likable. It won't. But because it's only by being yourself that you'll find people who like you for who you really are, rather than someone who you're pretending to be. Now, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a pretty cool quote. And, you know, what Chris said about this is, he said, the advantage to this is that no criticism will fully land. And then he says, you know, the disadvantage, the flip side of that, is that no compliment will fully land either. And then he talked a lot about playing, you know, don't play a role, don't play roles. So I think that's a pretty neat insight. Yesterday, you know, I said at the very end that, you know, no one really cares about your story unless they see themselves in your story somehow, right? People are looking for ways to click on another video. So, you know, before you click away, I've got to actually tap into the human condition, right? Our vulnerability, the difficulties, the challenges, all these things that are just hard on us, because we share that. You know, my story is not exactly your story. Your story is not exactly mine, but we share the human struggle together, right? And so when I'm telling my story, it's not going to be, oh, I grew up in this place and I did this thing. Now, I might include some of that stuff, but it's really about how I can connect with you on an emotional level, right? And that's going to be key. And then as part of this, it's not only just sharing the challenges, sharing all those things, you know, the hardships that we can relate to each other with. Then it's sharing the victory, right? You know, what I talked about yesterday, you know, why did I follow this path? You know, what if I hadn't followed this path? And what if I'd followed this path sooner, right? And then it's about hopefully helping you see this new potential, you know, helping you see this potential vision and seeing yourself as part of that. I hope that makes sense. So I want to bring up Chris Ducker again. You know, he says, if you're telling your story right, then you're going to be able to, he calls it marketing like a magnet. And he says you're going to attract the best and repel the rest. So, you know, you're watching these videos, I'm attracting the best and repelling the rest. So you're only going to be interested in this channel if your why somehow relates to my why. So I'm going to get the best results of telling my story to you if your why is aligned with mine. And then everything is going to gel together and hopefully it's going to work. Again, this is me learning. I am no expert. I'm trying to learn from experts. We'll see. So again, day 19, 11 days to go. Keep seeking the Lord's face. God bless.